The bigger the hustler you get, the more people you feed. I ain't saying where people should go and how far they should go, but every dude, yo, man, you gotta let that hustler out. If you want to succeed, you gotta let that hustler out. And to do it, it ain't about you, it's about feeding the people. So feed somebody else.
So, in a sense, to be a true hustler, it's about framing the actions you take and the path you choose and the impact it's going to have in the world, type of thing. This is the mindful hustle, where manifestation isn't just wishful thinking. It's a strategic realignment with the version of you that already has what you want. I'm Donnie, and I help high-level creators shift their identity so success becomes inevitable. This research shows that the average person has 60,000 to 70,000 thoughts per day, and 90% of those are the same as yesterday. So if you want a different outcome, you've got to become a different thinker. At Reality Realization Institute, we bridge neuroscience and spiritual law to help you rewire those patterns for real. You can start with a free strategy session at realityrealization.org/call. Now, let's get present and welcome today's guest. Today, we have Kelvin, a cybersecurity evangelist, mental health advocate, hustler, and self-proclaimed random guy with a mission that's anything but random. He's here to help businesses stay secure in a rapidly evolving digital world, while also guiding people to greater joy through deeper understanding. In this episode, we explore the intersection of technology, wellness, and the mindset it takes to live with both purpose and present. Let's get into it. And thank you, Kelvin, for hopping on today's show.
Thank you for having me, Donnie.
All right, let's start here. Was there a moment in your life or business when something just clicked and everything changed? Perhaps a mindset shift or a realization that really reshaped your path?
So yeah, it's a recurring thing. It's really just constantly throughout life. I would get to a point where I would say, you know what, this isn't it. This isn't life. And then I would say, okay, let me shift something and change something to go there. So constantly something is shifting, and yeah,
Mhm.
it happens over and over again.
Got you. And when you have these experiences, when you notice that something just isn't working the way that you need it to, what are some of the steps you take to kind of pivot and shift into that direction that's more true for you?
Yeah, so first is this acceptance of reality. So I'll say to me right now, hey man, I'm a high school dropout. So you wouldn't know that by looking at me. On that same token, I've been in jail. But
Mhm.
know that by looking at me. So in each case, it doesn't matter what happened to me. All I would do is say, this happened. That sucks. You can't really get through it. And it sucks for a while. But after a while, I say, you know what? How do I use this to benefit myself, and how do I avoid ever doing this again? So, I did 101 dumb things, okay, 1,001, right? But each time I was like, man, I didn't get the outcome I wanted. So it's like, you buy that car and you're like, hey, if I buy this nice car, I want a BMW, man. I'm gonna get the ladies, right? They're gonna look at me at least. And I roll out. And some of them don't look at you. But when the car break, you gotta pay for it. It's almost like, yo, I don't want to do this. So you don't buy a BMW again. I'm not saying that somebody shouldn't buy a BMW, but for me, it wasn't working. So I just changed whatever it is that led me to that situation and run with it. So I learned about, trial by fire sometimes, right?
Yeah, I hear that. I hear that. So with the progression and the constant reframing, recreation of yourself, what has that led you to experience? What are some of the moments that you would say are the highlights, those defining moments for you that really shaped your perspective and way of going about life right now?
Ooh, that's a good one. So I would say for that one, just coming, I got to go before you. So no matter where you live at in the world, you're going to experience life, right? And you're going to experience it differently. Like you might, if you live in Egypt, man, it's different life from living here. Look, man, everything you take for granted right now, where you got electricity in your house and there's water in your house, you come home, you like it's nothing. It's just I just deserve this. Nah, they live without it and they still keep a smile on their face. And so seeing that, changed my perspective on things. So, I would say it's growing through life, man. Like it's just growing. Just there's no easy formula. It's just you got to experience something. You got to do something different, and you got to experience it and learn from it.
Got you, got you. Really just playing the game of life and allowing everything you go through to be a learning experience, something to observe and reflect on, basically. Got it.
Indeed, yeah.
So, in terms of that creation, it's led you to create a cybersecurity business. Were there any ventures before that, or is this like the main thing for you?
So once a hustler, always a hustler. So I was always peddling something in some way, some shape, form, or fashion. I wasn't trying to hurt nobody, all victimless crimes. Let's put it that way. And I was a minor, no snitching. Nah, it was I was always doing something.
Mm.
And I was focused on helping people solve problems. So it was always in some shape, form, or fashion. I got into cybersecurity. And at the same time, I learned about a topic called user entity behavior analytics. And that was taking like just separate pieces of information and put it together to tell a story. And that and I have an interest in human behavior, so I studied human behavior, and there's something that I came up with called PPP, which is perception, perceiving, and perspective. Right now, everything you do is something that you are having a perspective on. And the reason you had a perspective is because you started to perceive things. What do I mean perceive things? Right now, you see me. When you see me, man, what you see, it ain't real. I mean, it's just your perception of it. You don't know what I'm like. As a matter of fact, if you see me at different times of the day, my friend, you wouldn't be able to tell who I was at another time of the day. That's because you're just really going off your perception and taking other things you experience in your life and you're piecing them all together and saying, that's who he is. That ain't right. But that's what you think. Then you go into your perspective because as you formed it over time, you took pieces of information that you experienced in life, somebody told you about, and you put them all together and you formed your perspective on. Well, the same thing happens in cybersecurity. You think somebody's secure. You think you're secure, but are you really? It's just your perspective on it. Think about it. You go into a job and they say, here's your laptop, and you say, they gave it to me, so it's secure. No, how you use it is what makes it secure. If you walked out of the office that day, you took that laptop and you set it down, and somebody logged into it, it didn't matter how much money you put on it for security. You just gave it right to them. Or you go home and you talk to that person online, and maybe they ask you some questions, and you start telling them because you get in your feelings. You think, oh, they might want. And man, they done used all your information to social engineer you and hack into your company or hack you, steal your social security number. I mean, it's many people that got robbed because I work in that intersection where I help companies to understand the people, the people to understand themselves and communicate with management and say, hey, let's figure this out. If you're going to log in on that phone and you're going to put in, say, that expense report right there, tell me. So that way I can tell them secure it there so they don't waste money on something else. So I go in and I help people to understand what they need to do to be secure with that.
Nice. And you mentioned that you had an interest in behavioral psychology in a sense. Was this interest what led you to cybersecurity, or how did that really come into being?
Ah, that's kind of two separate missions. So the why cybersecurity, to be honest with you, I took a class for computer security programming, and I hated writing those algorithms. I hated, I hated, I hated it. And at that point, I was like, I'm not going to do computer security. I was sure that I was just not going to do computer security. I wanted to be an engineer, electrical engineer, computer engineer. And I was like, hey, this is what I'm gonna do. But I had already worked in IT for years, and when I left school, it was more money and me being an IT guy than being an engineer. So I said, "Hey, go for the paycheck." But they were like, "Hey, if you do security," because I talked to security people when I got there, started doing IT at first, and they was like, "Yo, we making really good money in this." I'm like, "Well, you know what? I'm a security guy." So with that being said, I became a security guy. Got enough for you, but behavior is just understanding through life. So I'm married. I've been married for 17 years, and I will tell you, man, if you want to learn about yourself, get married. You spend a lot of time with a person, you're gonna learn. You gonna learn that day. So it just I learning, man. So learning.
Learning. Love that. Has learning always been a big aspect of your journey?
Yeah, I feel like you need to learn every day. So like every day, I make an effort to be a better me. Like when I wake up in the morning, the first thing I do is I wake up like, oh, what can I do to be a better version of me today? I will identify something. It could be like, hey man, I'm gonna have to go figure out how to make a better ad, or hey, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna do a post and it's gonna be banging, or something. It don't matter what it is. I'm just gonna do something, and I do that, whatever it is.
Mhm. That makes sense. That makes sense. And something I was curious of was with the progression of learning every day of behavioral psychology, these intersections, have you noticed anything in the human experience that is evidence that propels people forward versus kind of holds them back in life? I'm just curious from that background you have.
Yeah, it's mindset. The easiest way to put it is the hustler's mindset. When you hear the term hustler, a lot of people look at it negative, like, oh, it's something bad. I'm like, no, hustling is really just you getting up to go get whatever it is you need. And then that goes into what you desire. We ain't gonna get into that point, but what you need. So it comes from your primal instincts, caveman. I mean, caveman was going hustling, dude, every day. Every day you had to go get food. It wasn't no, oh, we got a fridge, you had to go every day and feed your family. Your kid had to grow up on the mission like, yo, I ain't got no time. I can't find myself. I gotta hustle. Well, that hustling is still in us, no matter which you put us in. You can put us in a box. I had that professor who taught me that computer security class told me, he said, you are like a tiger in a cage. When they let you out the cage, you gonna run. I'm like, what you mean? You trying to insult me? I don't know what that means. But what he meant by that is if you're a hustler, you're gonna hustle. There's no difference between big meats and Mark Zuckerberg. If you go in the streets, they tell you big meats, they say it's the way he did bad. Nah, that man was feeding the streets. They love that man because he fed the streets. I ain't saying what he did was good. Don't judge on that. You know what I'm saying? I ain't the Fed, so I ain't passing judgment. I ain't agreeing with or disagreeing with. I'm just saying that he fed the streets. It's the same thing that Mark Zuckerberg is doing. When they say, hey, somebody get fired at Facebook or Instagram, whatever, we all go, gasp, because we feel like he let us down. He stopped feeding the people. That's how you feel. On that same token, when Instagram down, you gonna hear a lot of people saying, I can't get my money, or I can't do this, I can't talk. Because that he's feeding the people. So the hustlers feed the people. The bigger the hustler you get, the more people you feed. I ain't saying where people should go and how far they should go, but every dude, yo, man, you gotta let that hustler out. If you want to succeed, you gotta let that hustler out. And to do it, it ain't about you, it's about feeding the people. So feed somebody else.
In a sense, to be a true hustler, it's about framing the actions you take and the path you choose and the impact it's going to have in the world type of thing.
What you do, you want to do it for good. I mean, because some people say it doesn't matter. Why are you alive? I mean, it matters, right? So every day matters. What you do matters. We all a part of this ecosystem together. So
Yeah, I hear that. I hear that. It's all interconnected. That makes sense. So I'd like to get deeper into the business side of things. What is it that you are really excited about or find really meaningful in the work you're doing right now?
yeah, so it's really combating AI. So AI is this fun thing where we were all waiting for it to come, like, oh, like everything else, automation. We like, oh, it's coming, and it's funny to see people interact with it because like we're looking to it now to supplement being the human experience. So it's like I'm gonna sit in the house and now I'm gonna talk to AI, and it's like that's who I interact with. So you're talking to Google on your phone or your Amazon Echoes in the house or whatever, and more and more and more. Like now we like, hey, you got a question, you got to write a paper, talk to Gemini and tell Gemini to write it in your style. Well, you're telling Gemini everything about you, right? And so it's like I want to help people to understand that we're giving it that, but we're gonna have to secure ourselves from it. If I told you right now you do a podcast and I can look at your podcast and I can go back and I can study you, I can study your mannerisms, how you talk to people, what words you use, then I can imitate you. As a matter of fact, I can teach it AI to imitate you. I can give it all your information, everything you've ever said. And man, for somebody who never met you, they won't know whether that AI is you or you.
Wow.
Well, that's scary. So we want to help people stay secure from that. So I want to
Yeah,
help on that.
that's awesome. Yeah, it's always interesting to see all of the new advancements in AI and seeing how it's like Everything from deepfakes to voice mimicking. It's like it's crazy what's happening now. So it's definitely important work what that you're doing. Love to hear that. So something I'm also curious of,
Yeah, I don't envy you by the way because you're young, man. So I don't because you're growing up in this world with all
yeah.
this technology. So like I feel like I dodged the bullet. I'm like, man, so yeah.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Yeah. Um, Something I'm curious about though is in this journey that you've gone on in business and self-development, really trying to become better every day, is there like a particular vision or version of self that you are really trying to pursue, like a level that you're trying to develop to in your journey?
It was. I mean, so now it's more so just doing things. So like I guess if you were to put it in the phases of life,
Hmm.
there's youth, controlled by your parents, and there's the party years, when you out there. Then there's the midlife crisis. I exited the midlife crisis, so I'm like, I'm done. I'm waiting for my son to grow up. Like I ain't got nothing to do. So nah, I mean, I'm just doing stuff. So it's like I'm just trying to take care of my family and do stuff. I ain't nah. I mean, I'm done. So I'm over the hill, man. So yeah.
Gotcha. Gotcha. That makes sense. Really just letting life take you in at this point and just enjoying the ride. That's awesome.
I mean, I mean, I asked somebody once a long time ago. I said, "Hey, what do you do when you have enough money?" They
Mm.
just looked at me like, "Get more," and I'm like, "If I get more, what am I gonna do with it?" Because I said I got enough, right? So then, if I get more, I'm not saying again. I'm in no one to say don't get more. Man, get as much as you want. How much? However much you want. I ain't. But me. Nah, I'm old now, so like I feel like I'm 45 years old. I'm like, man, I got 20 years left before this body ain't gonna be doing. I want to sit down, so I gotta go get in that gondola before I'm too old to enjoy it. So I got.
Yeah. No, I hear that. That makes sense. That makes sense. Well, this has been such a powerful conversation, diving deeper into everything from human behavior to what you're doing in cybersecurity. It's all very interesting stuff and resonates quite closely with the stuff I'm learning about right now in the world we're living in today. I appreciate you for sharing so openly and giving us all these different insights. Something I like to do at the end of these episodes is to ask, if you had to give one insight to creators and business owners out there trying to reach another level of life, whether that be in monetary gain or just more fulfillment in the work they're doing, what would you tell those out there?
Um, do the next thing. I mean, like, what you're doing right now? Do the next thing. Do the next thing. Do it. Do it. Do it. Don't say it. Don't just say it. Do it. Literally, just go do it. Whatever it is, go do it. If you fail, you're gonna learn what don't work. If you do nothing, you will learn nothing. So do it.
Perfect. I love that insight. Thank you for that. And before we wrap, where can listeners connect with you, learn more about the work you're doing with cybersecurity, more of your insights, anything like that? Where can they learn about you?
CSAI.pro is my website for my company, cybersecurity.com also. To learn more about me, LinkedIn, Kelvin Green, I can give you the address. I don't have any other social media. Podcast-wise.com. We will be doing some podcasts on cybersecurity, healthcare, technology. It'll mostly be my wife. It was going to be me. It got stolen away. We talk about that later. But the point is that it will be podcast there. I'll be on there sometimes.
Heard, heard, awesome. I love to hear it. Love to hear it. Thank you again for hopping on the podcast, sharing your story and all of these insights with the world. And to all of you tuning in, remember, you don't attract what you want, you attract who you are. So if you want to change your results, start by becoming the version of you who already has them. This is the Mindful Hustle. Until next time, be bold, be intentional, and keep realizing your reality.